Cole Harding had always known the cost of silence, the weight of shadows that lingered long after the gunfire stopped. After years embedded deep within the unforgiving crucible of SEAL operations, he sought refuge in a quiet suburban neighborhood, a place where the only battles were fought over barbecue grills and weekend soccer games. Oakwood Heights, with its manicured lawns and picket fences, promised a fresh start, a chance to rebuild the pieces of a life fractured by war. Before we dive into this gripping tale, make sure to like and subscribe, and let me know. Have you ever encountered a situation where you had to stand up for someone you loved? What would you do if they were taken from you? From the moment Cole arrived, Rex was at his side, a constant in an ever-changing world. The dog was more than a pet. He was a partner, a trusted war companion, whose instincts had saved Cole more times than he could count. Rex's sleek black coat and alert amber eyes made him an imposing figure. But beneath the surface lay a gentle soul, fiercely loyal and attuned to Cole's every mood. Together, they carved out a semblance of normalcy. Morning runs through tree-lined streets, evenings on the porch watching the sun dip below the horizon. The neighborhood welcomed them with cautious curiosity. Oakwood Heights was a tapestry of quiet families, retirees tending their gardens, and children's laughter echoing through the cul-de-sacs. Yet beneath this serene veneer, Cole sensed something amiss. The occasional flicker of headlights too late at night, the faint hum of whispered arguments, and the unsettling graffiti that appeared on walls. Cryptic symbols that spoke of territory and power. The gang activity was a whispered undercurrent, ignored by most but impossible for Cole to overlook. He often caught himself scanning the streets with soldier's eyes, noting exits, shadows, potential threats. It was a habit hard to shed, a remnant of a life where vigilance was survival. Rex mirrored his wariness, ears twitching at every rustle, tail stiff whenever a stranger passed too close. Despite the calm, the tension simmered beneath the surface, a silent drumbeat growing louder with each passing day. On one warm summer evening, the kind where the air hung heavy with the scent of honeysuckle and freshly cut grass, Cole stepped onto his porch after a long day spent organizing his garage. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, children's voices fading as night approached. Rex padded alongside him, their familiar rhythm offering comfort. Yet, as they reached the driveway, a sudden chill prickled Cole's skin, a sixth sense honed from years in hostile environments, warning him that something was wrong. His eyes darted to the garage door, where the clean, white surface once stood. A fresh smear of black spray paint marred the metal. A jagged, threatening message scrawled in hurried letters. "Vipers own this." The words cut through the evening, calm like a razor, bold and unmistakable. The Black Vipers. A name Cole had heard whispered in reports, a gang whose reach was expanding, their aggression escalating. Rex growled low in his throat, hackles raised as he circled the driveway, nose to the ground. Cole's heart pounded, not with fear for himself, but for Rex. The dog was missing. The gate to the backyard, usually latched securely, hung ajar. The realization hit him like a blow. Rex was gone. The quiet street suddenly felt suffocating, the shadows stretching long and menacing in the dusk. Cole's mind raced, adrenaline surging as he scanned the horizon for any sign of movement. The message was no random vandalism. It was a deliberate provocation, a calculated assault targeting him through his closest companion. The Black Vipers were sending a message, and Rex was their leverage. Cole's training kicked in instantly. Every muscle tensed, every nerve alert. He crouched, running a hand over the cold garage door, fingers tracing the harsh lines of the graffiti. The paint was still fresh, the smell pungent, a symbol of territory and defiance. He knew the Black Vipers weren't just a street gang. They were a growing menace, their influence creeping into the very heart of Oakwood Heights. The neighborhood that once promised sanctuary now felt like a cage, the familiar streets turning into a labyrinth of threats. Cole's mind flashed back to missions overseas, to nights spent in hostile territory, navigating danger with nothing but skill and instinct. The war had followed him home, creeping through the cracks of suburbia. He moved quickly, locking the gate behind him and pulling out his phone. The first call went to his old SEAL network, contacts who owed him favors, trusted allies who understood the stakes. The second was to the local police. Though Cole knew their reach was limited, their understanding of gangs like the Black Vipers superficial at best. As he paced the driveway, the neighborhood lights flicked on one by one. From behind closed doors, eyes watched, some curious, others wary. Cole had become a fixture here, a man whose past was whispered about, but never fully understood. Now, with Rex missing and the threat looming, that past was about to collide with the present in a way he couldn't ignore. The summer night deepened, the air thick with tension. Cole's thoughts churned. Rex was not just a dog. He was trained, intelligent, a partner who could be the key to unraveling the Black Viper's hold on the neighborhood. Losing him was more than a personal loss, it was a strategic disadvantage. As the stars blinked awake overhead, Cole made a silent vow. The peaceful life he sought in Oakwood Heights would not be shattered by gang violence. Rex was family, and Cole would stop at nothing to bring him home, whatever it took. The war might have left the battlefield, but it had not left Cole. And now, in the quiet streets of Oakwood Heights, a new fight was about to begin. The night had settled deep over Oakwood Heights, a blanket of stillness punctuated only by distant sirens and the occasional bark from a restless dog. Cole Harding stood under the dim glow of the porch light, eyes scanning the shadows beyond his yard with a sharp intensity that had never dulled. Rex was gone. The absence of his companion tore through the quiet like a jagged wound. But it was the spray-painted message on the garage door that sent a chill spiraling down his spine. Vipers own this. The crude scrawl was more than graffiti. It was a declaration, a challenge carved in black paint. Cole's gut clenched. The Black Vipers weren't just a gang. They were an ominous force, their name whispered in fear across the city's underbelly. And now they had come to his doorstep, making it clear the fight wasn't over. He moved swiftly, checking the backyard gate again, ensuring it was secure, though he knew better than to trust it. The faintest trace of paw prints in the dirt caught his eye, a sign Rex had been dragged through here. His jaw tightened as memories flooded back. The missions overseas, the ambushes, the betrayals. But this was different. This was personal. Cole's phone buzzed in his hand. It was a text from an old SEAL contact, a reminder that help was near. But time was not on his side. His fingers trembled slightly as he dialed the local police department. Detective Marla Jenkins answered on the second ring, her voice steady but laced with fatigue. Cole explained the situation, the missing dog, the threatening message. Marla's response was immediate, tinged with a professionalism honed by years on the force. "We've heard rumors about the Black Vipers pushing into Oakwood Heights," she said, voice low. "They're getting bolder. This isn't just a scare tactic, it's a warning." Cole felt the weight of her words settle over him. This wasn't random. It was calculated. The Vipers were making a statement, and Rex was their pawn. Outside, the neighborhood remained eerily quiet. Streetlights cast long shadows along the pavement. Cole's mind raced, piecing together what little information he had. The Black Vipers were known for their ruthless control over drug trafficking and territorial dominance. Their presence here threatened not just him and Rex, but the entire community. He couldn't afford to wait for the police to unravel the gang's web. The war within him surged to the surface, the instinct to protect, to fight back. He needed answers, and he needed them fast. Cole's thoughts turned to Rex, the dog who had been more than a partner in combat, his closest friend. Rex was trained, intelligent, capable of reading danger and responding with precision. If the Vipers had taken him, they were playing a dangerous game. Cole clenched his fists, determination hardening his features. Marla's voice brought him back. "I'm sending officers to canvass the area. If anyone saw us, anything unusual, we'll find out." Cole nodded, though she couldn't see it. "I'm going to start checking with my contacts. This isn't just about a missing dog, it's a message. We need to understand what the Vipers want." Marla hesitated, then added, "Be careful, Cole. These guys don't play by any rules." The warning hung heavy in the air. Cole's lips pressed into a thin line. He was no stranger to danger, but this hit differently. This was his home, his sanctuary, and Rex was family. After the call ended, Cole grabbed his jacket. The familiar weight of his tactical knife strapped inside a pocket, bringing a small measure of comfort. He stepped into the night, the cool air sharpening his senses. The streets of Oakwood Heights were no longer just a backdrop for his new life. They were a battleground. He moved with purpose, retracing Rex's last known routes, eyes peeled for any sign of the dog or the gang's presence. Houses were dark save for a few flickering porch lights, windows shuttered against the unknown. The scent of gasoline and faint traces of smoke drifted on the breeze, a reminder that the Viper's reach was marked by destruction. At the corner store, Cole stopped to ask the clerk if anyone had seen anything unusual. The young man shrugged, nervous eyes darting toward the parking lot. "Heard some guys hanging around late," he said. "Black jackets, tattoos, looked serious." Cole nodded, committing the details to memory. Every piece of information was a thread he could pull. He left a number with the clerk, promising to follow up, and moved on. Back in his truck, he called a trusted friend from his SEAL days, Marcus, a man with deep connections in the city's underworld and a knack for uncovering secrets. Marcus answered after a few rings. "Cole, what's going on?" Marcus asked, voice low. "Rex is gone. The Black Vipers are behind it. They left a message on my garage. I need to know what they're planning." There was a pause. "The Vipers have been tightening their grip," Marcus said. "This isn't just about intimidation. They're sending a signal, not just to you, but to rival gangs and law enforcement." Cole's jaw clenched. The stakes were higher than he imagined. This wasn't a simple kidnapping. It was an escalation. "I'm coming through," Marcus added. "We need to hit this fast." Cole exhaled slowly, the first spark of a plan forming. He couldn't wait for the authorities alone. Rex's life and the peace of Oakwood Heights depended on swift action. As the night deepened, Cole sat alone in the cab of his truck, the graffiti on his garage door burning in his mind. The Black Vipers had made their move, and Cole's protective instincts flared brighter than ever. Rex was out there somewhere, and Cole vowed to bring him home. The suburban calm was shattered, replaced by a rising tide of tension and resolve. Cole Harding was no stranger to danger, and now the fight had come to his own front door. The following morning dawned gray and heavy, the kind of overcast sky that pressed down on Oakwood Heights like a weight. Cole Harding's eyes opened before the first light seeped through his window. The creeping tension from the night before hadn't eased. If anything, it had sharpened into a razor's edge. Rex was still missing, and the Black Viper's threat hung in the air like a storm about to break. Cole moved through his morning routine with mechanical precision. Coffee brewed, gear checked, and his phone buzzed relentlessly. A steady stream of messages from old contacts, neighbors, and police officers. Each one a thread leading closer to the tangled web of the Black Vipers. He answered as many as he could, piecing together fragments of information, his mind already several steps ahead. Detective Marla Jenkins had promised to keep him updated, but Cole knew that law enforcement was stretched thin, grappling with a surge in gang violence across the city. Their resources were limited, and the Vipers operated with a level of brutality and cunning that made them elusive. It was clear that if Rex was to be found, and if the gang's grip on Oakwood Heights was to be broken, it would require more than the usual channels. Cole resolved to tap into his old SEAL network. The men and women he had trained with were scattered across the country, many still involved in covert operations, intelligence work, or private security. They understood tactics, discipline, and the stakes of a fight that couldn't be ignored. His first call connected him to Marcus, a man with a reputation for operating in the gray areas, someone who knew the city's underworld better than most. Marcus had promised to come through, but Cole needed more than muscle. He needed insight. That insight arrived in the form of Detective Marla Jenkins herself. By mid-morning, she appeared at Cole's door, her expression tight but resolute. She carried herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced darkness and refused to back down. "Morning, Cole," she said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. "I've been digging into the Vipers. They're not just a gang, they're a network. Drug trafficking, extortion, even arms running. They've been expanding aggressively in Oakwood Heights." Cole nodded, gesturing toward the coffee. "And Rex?" Marla's gaze hardened. "I suspect they're using him as leverage. The Vipers want to send a message, but they also want something. Control, compliance, maybe even information. We need to find out what before it's too late." Together, they laid out what little they knew. Marla shared recent police reports, drive-by shootings, drug busts, and anonymous tips pointing to a surge in Black Viper activity. Cole added the intelligence from his contacts, reports of new shipments arriving at docks, and unusual traffic patterns around certain warehouses. The pieces began to form a chilling picture. The Black Vipers were orchestrating a major operation, using intimidation and violence to tighten their hold on the neighborhood. Rex's disappearance was a strategic move in a far larger game of power. Cole and Marla agreed on a course of action. They would pool resources, Cole's tactical expertise and network, and Marla's access to police intelligence and manpower. The partnership was uneasy but necessary, forged from a shared determination to protect Oakwood Heights. Over the next days, the two dug deeper. Cole reached out to his SEAL contacts, gathering information about the gang's known associates and recent activities. Marla coordinated with local precincts and neighboring jurisdictions, pushing for increased patrols and surveillance. Through it all, Cole's thoughts remained fixed on Rex. The dog's training made him invaluable, not just as a companion, but as a tool that could turn the tide. If the Vipers had Rex, they underestimated the bond between man and dog, the unbreakable loyalty that could not be bought or bargained with. One evening, as they reviewed maps and reports in Cole's living room, Marla's phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen, her brow furrowing. "Got a tip," she said quietly. "Witness saw a Black Viper convoy near the old industrial district, close to the waterfront. They were moving something large, and there were dogs." Cole's heart quickened. The waterfront was notorious, a labyrinth of abandoned warehouses and shipping containers, perfect for illicit operations hidden from prying eyes. "We need to check it out," Cole said, already reaching for his jacket. Marla nodded. "It's risky, but if Rex is there, we don't have a choice." Under the cover of darkness, they set out. Cole driving with focused intensity, Marla navigating. The industrial district loomed ahead, desolate, shadowed, and whispering of secrets best left undisturbed. They parked a block away and moved on foot, communicating in low tones, scanning for signs of the vipers. The air was thick with the scent of salt water and rust, punctuated by the distant hum of machinery. Suddenly, a faint sound caught Cole's attention. A low whine, muffled but unmistakable. He froze, signaling Marla to stop. The noise came again, a desperate plea that tugged at his soul. Rex. Cole's breath hitched. He followed the sound, heart pounding in rhythm with the dog's cries. They edged closer to a chain-link fence surrounding a dilapidated warehouse, shadows shifting inside. Marla pulled out her radio, whispering for backup while Cole searched for a way in. The fence was rusted, but climbable. Without hesitation, Cole hoisted himself over, landing softly on the other side. Inside, dim light filtered through broken windows, revealing crates stacked high and figures moving cautiously. Cole's eyes adjusted, spotting cages along the far wall. Rex was inside one of them, his eyes wide but fierce, tail wagging weakly at the sight of Cole. The relief was overwhelming, but fleeting. The gang members were alert, and the situation was far from secure. Cole slipped back over the fence and signaled Marla. "We need a plan. This is bigger than a simple rescue." Marla's voice was steady. "Agreed. But Rex is here. We have to act." They retreated to regroup, knowing the path ahead would demand every ounce of skill, courage, and trust they possessed. The Black Vipers had made their move, but Cole and Marla were ready to fight back, to turn the tables and take back their neighborhood. In the quiet aftermath, as sirens wailed in the distance and the city held its breath, one thing was clear: the fight was only just beginning, and Rex was the key that could unlock the truth behind the Black Viper's shadowy empire. The dim light of the warehouse cast long shadows, flickering against the rusted walls and broken windows. Cole Harding's heart pounded in his chest as he crouched behind a stack of crates, eyes locked on the cages where Rex paced restlessly. The dog's amber eyes caught his, a flicker of hope igniting despite the grim surroundings. But the moment was fragile. Danger lurked in every corner. Detective Marla Jenkins, perched beside him, lowered her voice to a whisper. "We can't just storm in. They're organized, heavily armed. And there's something else. There's a new player in this game, someone with a history tied directly to your SEAL days." Cole's brow furrowed, tension knotting his jaw. "Who?" Marla glanced around, ensuring no one overheard. "Victor Viper Ramos. He's the leader of the Black Vipers, not just some street thug. He's got military experience, special ops background. Rumor is he was involved in a SEAL operation years ago that went sideways. You two share a past." Cole's mind reeled. The name stirred memories he'd tried to bury, missions that ended in blood and betrayal. Ramos was a ghost from his past, a shadow he thought long gone. Now, that shadow was back, tightening its grip on Oakwood Heights and holding Rex hostage. The revelation added a new edge to the situation. This wasn't just a gang conflict. It was personal. Marla continued, her voice steady despite the weight of the news. "Ramos is using Rex to draw you out. He wants something: information, leverage, revenge. And he's not afraid to escalate." Cole's fists clenched. He knew Ramos was dangerous, cunning, ruthless, and driven by a vendetta that blurred the lines between right and wrong. The thought of facing him again sent a chill through Cole, but it also fueled a fire deep within. "We need to get Rex out," Cole said, voice low but resolute. "But we can't rush him blind. We need a plan." Marla nodded, pulling out a map she'd marked with locations tied to the Viper's operations. Warehouses, safe houses, and drop points. "We've identified a few key sites. If we can intercept their shipments and gather intel, we might force Ramos's hand." Cole studied the map, the pieces of the puzzle starting to fit together. The Vipers were running a sophisticated network, using Oakwood Heights as a hub for drug trafficking and arms distribution. Rex was a pawn in a game much larger than he'd anticipated. "Let's hit their supply lines," Cole suggested. "Disrupt their operations, cut off their resources. That'll weaken Ramos's hold and give us leverage." Marla agreed. "We'll need backup and precise timing. The Vipers are unpredictable, and Ramos is always one step ahead." Over the next days, Cole and Marla moved with tactical precision, coordinating with trusted allies and law enforcement. Cole's SEAL training proved invaluable as he planned raids and surveillance, while Marla's knowledge of the city's criminal underworld guided their efforts. One evening, they gathered in Cole's living room. The map spread across the table, illuminated by the soft glow of a desk lamp. Rex lay nearby, his tail thumping weakly but steadily, a symbol of hope amid the chaos. Marla pointed to a cluster of warehouses near the docks. "This is their main distribution point. If we can get in, we might find evidence to bring down Ramos and the Vipers." Cole's gaze hardened. "We'll need to move fast. Ramos will be expecting retaliation." As the night of the operation approached, tension mounted. Cole and Marla assembled a small team, trusted friends from Cole's SEAL network, seasoned officers from Marla's unit, and a few undercover agents. Each knew the stakes and the dangers that lay ahead. The plan was meticulous. Infiltrate the warehouse under cover of darkness, secure Rex, gather intelligence, and capture Ramos if possible. Stealth and precision were paramount. Any misstep could cost lives. On the night of the raid, Cole felt the familiar rush of adrenaline, the calm focus that had seen him through countless missions. Rex, sensing the gravity, stayed close, alert and ready. They moved through the shadows, silent and swift. Inside the warehouse, crates filled with drugs and weapons stood like sentinels. Gang members patrolled, unaware of the storm about to descend. Cole's team took positions, signaling silently as they advanced. Suddenly, a door creaked, and a figure stepped into the light. Ramos. The air cracked with tension. Ramos's cold eyes locked on Cole's, a sneer curling his lips. "So, you came after me," he said, voice low but venomous. "And you brought your dog." Cole's response was steady, his gaze unwavering. "This ends tonight, Ramos." A firefight erupted, bullets tearing through the stale air. Cole moved with lethal precision, his training guiding every step. Rex barked sharply, alerting to threats and helping subdue gang members. In the chaos, Cole found himself face to face with Ramos. The man was a formidable opponent, quick, tactical, and ruthless. Their fight was brutal, a clash of wills forged in the fires of past betrayals. Ramos lunged, but Cole dodged, landing a precise strike that sent Ramos reeling. The gang leader grabbed a nearby child, a young boy caught in the crossfire, as a human shield, desperation flashing in his eyes. Cole's heart pounded. He couldn't risk the child's life. Rex, sensing the danger, lunged forward, biting Ramos's arm and forcing him to release the boy. Seizing the moment, Cole disarmed Ramos with a swift shot, the weapon clattering to the floor. Officers moved in, cuffing the gang leader as the remaining vipers surrendered. The warehouse fell silent, the storm passing. Cole knelt beside Rex, running a hand over the dog's thick coat. The bond between them had never been stronger, tested in fire and unbroken. Marla approached, her expression a mix of relief and respect. "You did it." Cole nodded, exhaustion settling in. "We did it. But this is just the beginning." As dawn broke over Oakwood Heights, the community stirred from a restless night. The Black Viper's grip had been broken, but the scars remained. Cole, Marla, and Rex stood together, a testament to resilience, loyalty, and the unyielding fight for justice. The battle had been hard won, but hope flickered in the morning light, promising a future reclaimed from darkness. The night air was thick with tension as Cole Harding and Detective Marla Jenkins prepared for their final move against the Black Vipers. The sting of previous battles had sharpened their resolve, but the stakes had never been higher. Rex, now recovered and alert, sat patiently by Cole's side, his amber eyes reflecting the steady determination of his handler. Their target was an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Oakwood Heights, an old shipping depot that had become the nerve center for the gang's operations and the holding place for Rex during his captivity. Intelligence gathered over days painted a grim picture. Armed guards patrolling the perimeter, a labyrinth of crates concealing illicit goods, and a hardened gang leader who was as cunning as he was ruthless. Cole's military training took over as he surveyed the site from a nearby ridge, binoculars sweeping over the shadowed complex. Every detail mattered: guard rotations, escape routes, potential ambush points. The plan had to be flawless. Marla's voice crackled softly through the radio. "DEA agents are in position, waiting for your signal. Corbin's leading the team. He's got your back." Corbin Jenkins, Marla's brother, was a seasoned DEA agent whose experience in undercover operations made him invaluable. His presence added an extra layer of strength to the operation, a network of allies converging to bring down the Black Vipers once and for all. Cole nodded, even though Marla couldn't see him. "Ready when you are." Under the cover of darkness, they moved into position. Cole and Marla took up vantage points on opposite sides of the warehouse, their communication tight but unobtrusive. Rex, attuned to the tension, remained close, his muscles coiled and ready. Inside the warehouse, shadows shifted as gang members moved crates and prepared for what they believed was another routine night. Unbeknownst to them, they were walking into a carefully laid trap. Cole's eyes locked on a figure emerging from the shadows. Lieutenant Marcus Sterling, the corrupt officer who had betrayed the Silver Ridge Police Department from within. Sterling's presence here was a revelation, confirming suspicions of a leak that had compromised the investigation from the start. Marla's voice was a whisper. "Sterling's here. Stay sharp." The night's silence shattered with the sharp crack of a signal flare. Instantly, the DEA agents moved in, surrounding the warehouse and cutting off escape routes. Cole and Marla sprang into action, their movements fluid and precise, honed by countless hours of training and shared purpose. Rex led the charge, his keen senses guiding the team toward the cages where other victims were held. The dog's bark echoed through the cavernous space, rallying their momentum. Gunfire erupted as the gang realized they were trapped. The air filled with the acrid smell of smoke and adrenaline as Cole exchanged shots with the Vipers, each bullet fired with calculated intent. Marla covered the flanks, coordinating with the DEA agents to secure the perimeter. In the chaos, Sterling's true nature revealed itself. Desperate and cornered, he seized a child hostage, using innocence as a shield against justice. Cole's heart thundered in his chest. There was no room for hesitation. Rex, sensing the peril, charged forward without hesitation. The dog's intervention was swift and decisive, clamping down on Sterling's arm and forcing him to release the child. Seizing the moment, Cole took a precise shot, disarming Sterling and ending the immediate threat. Officers moved in to apprehend the corrupt lieutenant as the remaining gang members, seeing their leader subdued, laid down their weapons. The warehouse fell into a tense silence, punctuated only by heavy breathing and the distant wail of approaching sirens. Cole knelt beside Rex, gratitude and relief washing over him as the dog's tail thumped against the concrete floor. Marla approached, her face flushed with exertion, but alight with determination. "It's over for now." Cole nodded, eyes sweeping the room. The evidence they collected tonight would be the key to dismantling the Black Viper's network and rooting out corruption within the force. Outside, the first hints of dawn brushed the horizon. The community of Oakwood Heights, battered but unbroken, began to stir from a restless night. Weeks later, the neighborhood breathed a tentative sigh of relief. Victor Viper Ramos and Lieutenant Sterling faced justice, their reign of terror dismantled by a coalition forged in adversity. The streets saw fewer shadows, the drug trade disrupted, and a fragile peace beginning to take root. Cole, Marla, and Rex found themselves bound by the trials they'd faced together. The dog, once lost and now a beacon of hope, continued to serve, not just as a protector, but as a symbol of resilience. Their story was far from over, but the victory this night represented a turning point, a testament to the power of loyalty, courage, and the unyielding fight against darkness. As the sun rose over Oakwood Heights, the trio stood ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by the bonds forged in the crucible of conflict and the promise of a safer tomorrow. The sun hung low over Oakwood Heights, casting a warm, golden glow across the quiet streets, slowly stirring to life. After weeks of turmoil and confrontation, the neighborhood was breathing easier, its wounds still fresh but healing. The Black Viper's shadow had finally lifted, disrupted by the combined efforts of Cole Harding, Detective Marla Jenkins, and the surge of law enforcement that had rallied behind them. Cole sat on the porch of his modest home, Rex lying at his feet, the dogs breathing steady and calm. The familiar rhythm was a balm against the lingering tension that had gripped them all. Around the block, neighbors emerged from their homes, tentative smiles exchanged, the cautious reclaiming of their streets in slow but hopeful increments. Marla joined him moments later. Her expression softened, the edge of exhaustion replaced with a quiet satisfaction. "The precinct's been buzzing," she said, settling into the chair beside him. "The Viper's network is fractured. We've had a few arrests since the raid. The community's starting to trust us again." Cole nodded, his gaze distant but resolute. "It's a start, but there's still work to be done." Marla smiled faintly. "You're not one to back down, neither am I." Their partnership had evolved beyond necessity into something forged in respect and shared purpose. The battles they'd faced together had created a bond that neither expected but both welcomed. As they spoke, children's laughter drifted from down the street. A group of kids played tag, their carefree energy a stark contrast to the violence that had once loomed over their neighborhood. It was a reminder of what they fought to protect. Cole's thoughts turned to Rex, who had become more than a partner in the fight. He was a symbol of resilience. The dog's journey from captivity to heroism had inspired many, and plans were already in motion to honor his bravery. "Have you thought about what's next?" Marla asked, breaking the silence. Cole considered the question. "I want to do more than just fight. There are kids here, good kids, who need guidance, someone to keep them off the streets." Marla's eyes lit up. Like a mentor program? Exactly. I've seen what happens when there's no direction, no hope. I want to help change that? Rex can help too, as a therapy dog maybe. Marla nodded thoughtfully. I can help with the community outreach. The police department is eager to rebuild trust. This could be the start of something meaningful. The idea took root quickly. Together, they began laying the groundwork for a mentorship initiative, combining Cole's discipline and experience with Marla's law enforcement connections and community insight. Rex, with his gentle demeanor and unwavering loyalty, was a natural fit. In the weeks that followed, Oakwood Heights began to shift. Neighborhood meetings were held, parents and local leaders engaged, and the program took shape. Cole found himself standing before groups of young people, sharing stories of resilience and the importance of making choices that could change their lives. Rex sat patiently by his side, a steady presence that brought comfort and joy. The dog's role extended beyond the protection. He became a friend, a confidant, and a symbol of hope. The community responded. Attendance grew, and the streets saw fewer signs of gang activity. The fragile peace took hold, nurtured by the efforts of those who refused to let darkness define their home. One afternoon, as Cole walked Rex through the neighborhood park, Marla approached, a folder of new cases in hand, but a smile on her face. Things are looking up, she said, watching children play nearby. Cole smiled, feeling a sense of purpose he hadn't known in years. It's more than that. It's about rebuilding lives. They stood together, two warriors who had found a new battle. One fought not with weapons, but with hope, guidance, and the unbreakable bond between a man and his dog. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over Oakwood Heights, Cole, Marla, and Rex walked forward, their footsteps steady and sure. The scars of the past remained, but so did the promise of a brighter future. A future they were determined to build, one day at a time. Weeks had passed since the last gunfire echoed through Oakwood Heights, and the neighborhood was slowly stitching itself back together. The scars left by the Black Viper's reign were still visible. Boarded up windows, empty storefronts, and wary glances. But beneath the surface, a quiet resilience was blossoming. The community was reclaiming its streets, its spirit rekindled by the courage of a few who refused to let darkness define their home. Cole Harding stood at the edge of the newly established community center, the late afternoon sun casting warm hues across the brick facade. Rex sat faithfully by his side, his sleek black coat glinting in the light, eyes sharp and alert. The dog's presence had become a fixture in Oakwood Heights, a symbol of hope and healing that touched everyone who met him. Inside, laughter and chatter filled the air as children gathered for the mentorship program Cole had helped launch. He watched through the window, a quiet smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. The program was more than a project. It was a lifeline for kids who had once been on the brink, a chance to rewrite their stories. Marla Jenkins approached, her footsteps soft on the pavement. She carried a clipboard, her face bright with the satisfaction that comes from hard-won progress. "They're doing well," she said, nodding toward the center. "Attendance is up, and the parents are talking. It's a start." Cole turned to her, gratitude evident in his gaze. "Couldn't have done it without you." Marla shook her head, a modest smile playing on her lips. "We did it together. The community needed someone to believe in them, and that's what you brought." They stood in companionable silence, the weight of the past giving way to the promise of the future. A group of teenagers spilled out of the center, their faces alight with excitement. One of the boys, a wiry kid with bright eyes, approached Cole hesitantly. "Mr. Harding, thanks for what you're doing. I didn't think anyone cared. Cole knelt to meet him eye to eye. I care, and I'm here to help you find your way. Rex barked softly, nudging the boy's hand with his nose, earning a laugh that echoed through the street. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows over Oakwood Heights, Cole, Marla, and Rex walked together down the quiet street. Their steps were steady, their resolve unshaken. Cole's thoughts drifted back to the battles fought and the lives lost, the darkness that had threatened to consume them all. But in this moment, surrounded by the sounds of life and hope, he knew the fight had been worth it. Marla glanced at him, her voice soft but certain. You found purpose here. Cole nodded, the weight of his journey settling comfortably on his shoulders. Purpose and family. Rex padded alongside them, a loyal companion who had been through fire and emerged stronger. The bond they shared was unbreakable, a testament to the power of loyalty and courage. As they reached the end of the block, Cole paused, looking back at the neighborhood that had tested him in ways no battlefield ever could. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear. Heroes could emerge from the most unexpected places. And in Oakwood Heights, a new chapter was just beginning. A story of resilience, hope, and the unyielding spirit of those who refuse to give up. Together, they stepped forward into the night, ready to face whatever came next, bound by the ties forged in adversity and the promise of brighter days ahead.